I got a Dungeon Coach Homebrew Spell Tome for you guys, and I'm starting things off with cantrips. I got some tweaks and adjustments for current cantrips in the game to make them more dynamic and actually grow and scale in power with your character. And I got something for True Strike that you might truly like. And I'm bringing you 2 healing cantrips, one for Clerics and one for Warlocks. Let's roll it. Welcome to the Dungeon Coach. I'm the Dungeon Coach. I'm gonna help lower that DC in your game by scaling up cantrips to pack some more punch. The concept of a cantrip scaling up is part of the rules as written in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just taking this and running with it. I'll be taking on all 10 of these cantrips, and yes, that's right, True Strike is on the list. It is truly awful, but I think you might like what I did with it, and who knows, maybe even use it. But the best part is I'll be adding 5th, 11th, and 17th level scaling that's more creative than just adding additional damage die. And I'll be finishing it all off with those 2 healing cantrips that can really shake up your game. So if you want to take your Dungeons and Dragons game to the next level with some more creative homebrews and outside of the box ideas, start right now by subscribing and clicking that notification bell so you don't miss out. So let's get into it. In my opinion, cantrips should not be the same strength from start to finish. Because when you're 17th level, you should be able to use this cantrip and push the limits of it in ways besides just one more D6. But you'll see what I'm saying here with this first cantrip. First up, we're diving into Acid Splash. Instead of Acid Splash targeting one creature and then bouncing to another one within 5 feet, I just have it as a 2x2 square. This is how I've been accidentally running it for years now, and I didn't even know until I made this video. Most of the times you'd want to use this is when 2 targets are next to each other, so it'd be about the same thing, but this goes a little farther. My vision for this spell was to be able to leave pools of acid all around the battlefield, zoning things off. So at 5th level, the acid lingers in that 10-foot area for 1 additional turn. So any creature that enters the area or ends their turn in that area takes an additional 1d6 acid damage because they're just standing in it. So no, this is not some simple plus 1d6 damage, but if they stay in that acid, it is. At 11th level, the damage actually does increase to 2d6, so it would be 2d6 the first time and the second time in the lingering pool. So it could get to 4d6 over 2 rounds. Then at 17th level, you're a big awesome caster, the acid lingers longer. So how it would work with 2 additional rounds is you would cast Acid Splash on that 2x2 square. It would stay there for that round, and the next round, and the next round, possibly dealing 2d6 3 different times. One disclaimer here is that Acid Splash does not stack in the same one square if you just load it up. The idea is to spread it across the battlefield wherever you want. But if you want it to stack at your table, go ahead, that's cool. And if you think what I'm doing here is a sin to the game, this is kind of the concept with my bonus level up system. It's something I personally do as a DM where every time my player levels up, I give them a cool bonus perk. So maybe one of these is something you give them for that. Just trying to get some ideas going. Second one up is Blade Ward. I've extended the duration from 1 round to 1 minute, but it only lasts until the next time that you take damage, then it's gone. At 5th level, you'll start to see what I'm doing with these and change how you can actually use them in a more dynamic way instead of just one-dimensionally scaling them. 5th level, the range changes from self to 30 feet, and you can now cast this on your allies. 11th level, it becomes the next 2 attacks. 17th level, it's a bonus action. Now, before you freak out and say that this is way too strong, yes, I totally agree. If I gave all of these things at level 1, it would be a broken cantrip. But keep in mind, this is a 17th level character. They should be able to push this cantrip. Time out! I have all of these compiled together for y'all in a Dungeon Coach Spell Tome Brew. Tome-brew? Homebrew? It really does help let me give you guys higher quality stuff. And I'll be updating this thing every single time I do one of these videos with 1st, 2nd, and higher level spells. The link will be down in the description so you can get your hands on it. Here we go. Number 3 is Friends. I have always loved the Friends cantrip, but the one part I haven't liked is that one line that says they'll always know that you did magic to them once the spell's duration wipes. And that material component's kind of weird, so I scrapped that too. So at 5th level, you can be more friendly with your friends, and the duration increases to 10 minutes. You could use this in multiple ways of interacting with them for longer or getting the heck out of there and giving a longer time before they realize the spell affected them. But then my favorite part is at 11th level, the target has to make a charisma saving throw as the spell ends to be able to tell if they were actually affected by magic or not. Because I feel like an 11th level spellcaster should be able to weave that in there. At 17th level, you could just give the target disadvantage on the roll, but I have it be an automatic. They do not know that you cast the magic on them. At 17th level, your spell save DC is going to be so high, any commoner is going to have no chance to actually succeed anyway, which is when you normally use it. And all the spell gives you in the first place is advantage on charisma checks, so I don't think you'd have to be too strict on it. Number 4, Spare the Dying. Unless you're a Grave Cleric, this cantrip has been very bad. Not true strike level bad, but we'll get to that later. Before I get into this one, you have to know I use a different set of homebrew death rules. There's a bunch of different ideas for how to handle death. I'll have that video linked down in the description. But in general, whenever my players gain a death saving throw, it does not reset whenever they come back up. It stays there with them until they have a long rest. So keep that in mind when we're talking about this. At first, the spell is normal and you touch a creature and it stabilizes them. But I've added two things. Is one, it removes a death saving throw, but that's part of my homebrew rule. So the second thing is it prevents the target from being raised from the dead or turned into a zombie in some way. At first, it's only 1 minute, but it does scale up. But I think this is a really cool way, usually used more in a roleplay way. I also put a line in there that says the players keep rolling their death saves because they could get that nat 20. But here's where it starts to get cool at 5th level. You increase the range by 10 feet. So yes, if you're a grave cleric and you already have it at 30 feet, now it becomes 40. Don't worry about that. And on that note, like I say with all my homebrews, if any of my rules step on the toes of a subclass, and you don't have it at your table, then it's fine, don't worry about it. But if you do, then make the adjustment like I did. But also at 5th level, while they're rolling those death saves, if they get a 15 or higher, they recover that 1 hit point. They're back in it. At 11th level, their range increases by 20 feet, and if they roll a 10 or higher, they get that 1 hit point back. 17th level increases by another 10 feet, and they get that 1 hit point, and if they do come back, they get to immediately roll a hit dice to have even more health. And the cool flavor thing that you can take out if you want, but I like it, is that 1 minute protection from being able to be turned to undead goes to 10 minutes, 1 hour, and then 1 day at 17th level. Time out. This video is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon and my YouTube members. Me and my wife just had our first kid, and I go back to work next week. So if I didn't have that support to be able to put the money back into this channel to become more efficient, then I literally would not be able to make videos every week. And if you like all this homebrew stuff I make, I have rewards for all my patrons to give me even more stuff. So thank you so much for believing in what I'm doing here and feeling that I'm worth supporting. Back to it. Number 5, Gust. And now this one is my personal favorite of mine. I had a wind sorcerer that I made, and this was one of the cantrips that he actually used. The medium or smaller creature now has to make a strength saving throw or be shoved 10 feet away from you. 5 more feet than before. But here's the cool part, is the target takes 1d4 bludgeoning damage for each 5-foot square that the target did not move. So if you're here and the target's here and there's a wall right behind them and you gust them right into it, they would not move those 2 squares, so they would take 2d4 damage. If that wall's a little farther away, they'd move 5 feet, totally fine. Move the other 5 feet, hit the wall, take 1d4 damage. Second thing Gust can do is that small thing of air that can grab an object that's less than 5 pounds and push it 10 feet away. And the third part here is that harmless sensory effect that you can do. Now let's scale this thing. 5th level, that air push now adds another 10 feet onto it for a total of 20 feet worth of push. And if you push them into the wall now, that would be 4 squares not moved, and that's 4d4. But again, you gotta think tactically in position for that. And you can also now affect objects in a 5-foot cube that are less than 5 pounds and push them 20 feet away. This continues now at 11th level, and both that shove of a creature and the throw of objects increases by 10 more feet for a total of 30. And you can now affect large creatures for half the movement. So you could shove medium creatures the full 30, but large creatures only half of that, 15. If you think this last part's a little extra and don't want to add it in, that's fine, but I think this is freaking awesome, and I think you really could do this too, is whenever you're running and you do a high jump or a long jump, you can increase either of those while casting the Gust cantrip by 5 feet. Trying to jump as high as you can almost Iron Man yourself up just a little bit and shoot yourself a little higher. You're now at 17th level and you can control the wind. It's 40 feet now, and you can affect huge creatures at a 1/4 ratio. So instead of 40 feet for a huge creature, it would only be 10. And that cool little jump increases to 10 feet now. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to Cryos because I saw a document where he took cantrips in his own direction and added a 5th, 11th, and 17th level to them. We both took these cantrips in totally different directions, but this is what I'm talking about with this awesome homebrew community to inspire each other, take stuff, and run with it. These are so much fun to do. All right, 6th level, we have Poison Spray. Dare I say that Poison Spray actually poisons something. I took the damage die from a D12 all the way down to a D8. And before you go crazy, Trent Monk had a great fix to this that brought in the whole poison mechanic. He took it as a D10 and the target became poisoned if they failed to save. I thought this was awesome, but when I took it and ran with it, the poison condition is pretty strong even if it only lasts for 1 round. At first, the creature still has to make that Constitution saving throw at a touch range for 1d8, but if they fail, they also become poisoned for 1 round. But here's the cool thing, at 5th level, you can eject that poison spray from your hand farther, and it goes to 10-foot range with 2d8 damage. 11th level keeps increasing the range and the damage with 20 feet and 3d8, 17th level, 30 feet and 48. But if you feel like this is too weak, you could up it back to the D10s, but now keep in mind, you're flirting with Firebolt. So once I decided to increase this thing's range as it leveled, I had to keep that dice down to D8. Time out. Do you guys want more of this stuff? If this video gets 600 likes in the next 4 days, I'll unlock another chapter to this tome brew. If we pass that threshold, I'll throw up a voting poll that y'all can choose to either do more cantrips from actually in the game to make adjustments on, more homebrew cantrips, or level 1 spells. Because I want to know what you guys want to see, so you gotta hit that like button. Here we go. Now these next 3 are super cool, and I wanted to take the 3 AoE cantrips that usually don't get picked very often and make them very distinct from each other and have different flavor to them all. So here's what I did with Thunderclap, and I hope you like it. This was the only one also that had a large negative effect to it of this loud boom sound, which can come into play. So as usual, we have the boom sound, and creatures within 5 feet make a Constitution saving throw. Failed save, they take 1d6 thunder damage, but here's the cool part I added. They get knocked out just outside the range of the spell. So to make sure you're not confused, if you're standing there and a creature's within 5 feet and you use it, it puts them outside the range, so 5 feet. You'll see why I say it like that, because at 5th level, the sound goes to 200 feet, and the range of this cantrip increases to 10 feet, which would also increase that knockback. So now if somebody's standing right next to you, they get knocked back 10 feet to be outside the range, but if they were standing 5 feet away from you, they'd still get hit by it, but only be knocked back 5 feet. And 5th level, you also get the 2d6 damage. 11th level, the same thing happens. Louder boom of 300 feet. It's a 15-foot range now, and it's 3d6 damage. The cool part about this, though, is you gotta be careful with this, because this affects your allies, too. And at 17th level, you can't just be booming around like crazy, because you got 500 feet, 20-foot range, and 46 damage. Now, I know this might sound crazy for a cantrip to have a 20-foot range AoE, but this makes a lot more sense to me for a 17th level character to be able to do this than a 5-foot range that barely does anything. Number 8, Word of Radiance. Start to pay attention now to the difference between each of these. The coolest part here is you can actually control your Radiance to only target enemies. Each creature of your choice that you can see within range must succeed a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 radiant damage. The cool extra little bit of flavor I added on for this was targets affected by this emit dim light for 10 feet. So now if you're in a dark room, each of those creatures will be glowing for 1 round. I kept everything else real simple and the same. 5th, 11th, and 17th level each increased the range by 5 feet and increased the damage by 1 dice. I originally got carried away and made this thing blind, but it's way too strong of a condition to put on a cantrip. So thank you to my homebrew council for keeping me in line. Number 9 is Sword Burst, and I had a hard time trying to put my finger on what I wanted this thing to be. Spectral blades sweep around you, and every creature other than you makes a dexterity saving throw. The damage type here is the best compared to the other ones of force damage, but I wanted to add one more thing, so I also added you cannot be flanked until the end of next round, because you got blades flying all around you. And the same thing at 5th, 11th, and 17th level, increasing the range by 5 and the damage by 1d6. I literally just got an idea. So I literally just added this on here mid-video, but it felt really bad for the only cool thing that this gets is to be you can't be flanked. I feel like somebody would use this when they're surrounded by enemies and they shoot it out around them. And if it just went off the rails and made this too strong, then just take it off. But 5th level, you gain 1 armor class only for 1 round, just like a lot of these other cantrips. 11th level, you get 2 armor class. And 17th level, you got blades swirling around you. You gain 3 armor class while you're protected by this swirl of blades that only lasts for the round. And now for True Strike. Man, this cantrip is bad. I want to look it up again to make sure it's really that bad. Yep, you spend your entire action to gain advantage for your next round when you could have just attacked anyway. A lot of fixes I've seen for this is just have it be a bonus action, but that doesn't feel like what I envision a true strike to be. So go with me on this one, it's a little different. You know how Magic Missile works for those casters where they can cast that energy that always hits no matter what, they don't even have to roll for it? Well, True Strike guides your blade magically to land and always hit the target. So it literally works the same way as before. You point your finger at a target, and your magic grants you insight to the target's defenses, making your next attack auto-hit. But you don't roll the dice, so no, you cannot crit. At 5th level, the range increases to 60 feet. 11th level, this can affect your allies as well. And 17th level, it actually lasts for 1 minute. But keep in mind, this is a concentration spell, so you can only have 1 of them up at a time. So those are my 10 homebrews for the cantrips already in the game, but what about 2 custom ones? These 2 healing cantrips, Closed Wounds and Siphon Life, I think are absolutely awesome, and I would love to take them as a Cleric or Warlock. I could also see Necromancy School Wizards and some Sorcerer subclasses. The biggest thing about homebrewing a healing cantrip is you cannot just have it be a heal with dice values. They could just spam it for forever and then you just full heal everybody, no problem. So to solve this problem when homebrewing any healing cantrip, you have to connect it to hit dice. And if you know me at all by now, you know I love hit dice mechanics. I have an entire short rest system video that I'll also link down below. It's my most popular video. But I love giving hit dice a higher value in this game. The first one here is Closed Wounds, and its original creator was Purius, and as you've seen probably, he has a lot of really good homebrews. So here's how it works. You touch an allied creature and channel their inner life force to cause a surge of natural healing. If the target creature has at least 1 hit point, meaning it's actually conscious, it can spend one of its hit dice and roll the die and add their constitution modifier to the result. Kind of like a short rest. You see where this is going? So you can't just do this infinitely, and it allows clerics and other healing classes that want to pick this up an ability to stretch their magic, or if they ran out of their healing spells, to be able to still heal. You can basically run around and grant people little mini short rests. But as you scale this thing up to 5th level, you can draw more healing and they can spend 2 hit dice. And 5th level, you can actually spend your own hit dice to heal others. How selfless. 11th level increases the 3 hit dice and extends the range to 30 feet. 17th level is 4 hit dice and now it becomes a bonus action. This just feels so awesome, and it is the exact type of thing I'm trying to look for when I'm making these cantrips to give it a right feel of scaling besides just scaling only the damage or healing. And now to my own personal one, Siphon Life. Where this came from is my most recent campaign group had 5 players and 3 of them were warlocks, and nobody could heal. But I absolutely love letting my players play what they want, and we'll figure it out from there. So one of the warlocks was really interested in manipulating life, taking it from others, giving it to others. So I created for her Siphon Life. Shout out to Zachariah. So here is Siphon Life. Make a melee spell attack against a living creature, so no constructs or undead. On a hit, you expend one of your own hit dice. You deal necrotic damage to the target equal to the hit dice rolled plus your constitution modifier, and you heal yourself for the same amount. Additionally, you can touch a willing creature and siphon their life, a much less hostile version of the spell. The target you touch takes necrotic damage equal to the hit dice rolled plus their constitution modifier, and you heal for that amount. And so behind the scenes on how I created this cantrip and into my bonus level up system, this warlock who wanted to drain life from others wanted to try it on their own ally. And I was like, sure, I guess you could do that, but if they're willing, you could use their hit dice and drain their literal life. But that wasn't enough for her. She wanted to push the limits of this cantrip. Which brings us to the 5th level scale up here. Not only can you spend 2 hit dice now, but now you can use your own hit dice to drain from yourself to heal others. This works the exact same way, and you would spend your own hit dice, taking necrotic damage yourself, to send your life force into one of your allies. At 11th level, this goes up to 3 hit dice, and also, by the way, that applies to both the attack roll and the willing creature touch. But also, now when you touch a willing creature, you don't have to actually roll the hit dice that you're draining or giving. You just choose the amount that those hit dice would be. This ability came from wanting to take a little bit of life, but not too much. And at the 17th level, you can spend 4 hit dice on this thing, and it becomes a bonus action to cast. This awesome life manipulation journey this warlock character went on is what inspired me to make this cantrip and build it for them. And now I'm sharing it with you guys because I have a lot of these homebrew cantrips, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to see adjustments to the regular cantrips in the game or my own homebrews. So let me know what you think about these healing cantrips down in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to get your hands on this yourself, I have a link for the PDF down in the description. Check it out, and if you like it, leave a good review. I also want to stop and say a big thank you to Purius, Pagna Bros, and Dark Abyss Keeper. They're part of what I've deemed my homebrew council, and they help keep my ideas in check because sometimes I tend to run away with things. I just get so excited. And props to my Discord for also being an awesome creative community. You guys have came up with so many awesome ideas that I really want to flush out. Cantrips with spell attack rolls for bards and clerics. Patron-specific cantrips for all the different warlocks besides just Eldritch Blast for days. Divination cantrips, bonus action cantrips, and reaction cantrips. So if you want to jump in on all the creativity, Discord link will be down below. And now we're going into overtime. Here are some of the extra tips I have for you guys to go the extra mile to watch extra parts of the video. It's not really extra parts, it's just the whole video, but it really helps me whenever you guys stay to the very end. So I want to help you guys more. So here's some rapid fire tips and a sneak peek. This first one's weird, but I changed the name of Chill Touch to Hands of the Grave because Chill Touch makes no sense. It's chill and touch. It's not a touch spell, and it doesn't deal cold damage. It makes absolutely no sense, so Hands of the Grave. I changed the cast time of mending from 1 minute to an action, but if you guys want to see more of this, I have an actual full scaled breakdown of mending that I can do as well. Give those bards some love on Vicious Mockery and up the D4 to a D6 in damage. And I really like this one, and I'll put this one in the next video. But Toll the Dead, I changed the D12 transition, not to just being damaged, but they have to be below half health, because they'd be closer to being dead, toll the dead than alive. So once they get the bloodied condition, which is what I usually say to my players whenever a creature reaches half health, then that's when boom, toll the dead again. Boom. Because I think this cantrip's super strong, but there's cooler ways to scale it too. Boom. So if you like what I'm doing here and you want to inject your game with more creativity and outside the box ideas, then hit that subscribe button right here because I have so much more to give you guys. If you like all this homebrew spell talk, then click right here for the counterspell video I did where I introduced spell duels. Super cool. And if you just like homebrew in general, I got a playlist right here. And if you want to support what I do, Patreon's right here. So until next time, stay creative and think outside that box. Peace. Boom.